invest now. Invest in the support now. It's, you're putting money behind a lot of people in seats, and that's expensive, and I understand that, but you need people to be there to support your franchisees every step of the way.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Franchise. I'm your host, Paul Ehlinger, founder and CEO here at Flamel AI. We're super lucky today to be joined by our friend Leigh Welch. Leigh, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I'm excited to learn more from you and just to have another great conversation with you.
Absolutely.
Maybe kicking us off, just tell us a little bit about your background and what's kind of led you to what you're doing today with Leigh Welch Consulting and everything.
Yeah, so I am the founder and sole employee of Leigh Welch Consulting. And what I do is I help franchisors build out their franchise support structures. So their field operations teams, all the resources that they create to just make sure that their franchisees are hitting profitability and they're successful. And I've spent, I'm afraid to even say this number, but like the last 13 years in the franchising space, wearing a bunch of different operations related hats, from an operator to franchise business manager to, leading franchise business management teams. Um, and worked across mostly the fitness industry, but also self-care too. So worked for places like Pure Barre, Orange Theory Fitness, My Salon Suites, and now I'm running my own shop, and I'm trying to work with as many franchisors as possible in all different types of industries and sectors, and just want them to do right by their franchisees.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was thinking about this the other day because I actually interviewed Andrea Wita for this show, who is the used to
Yes.
like do retail over at Orange Theory. Um, there's got to be just like so in tech they talk about the PayPal mafia, which are all the people who spun out of PayPal to start all these other big companies. I feel like Orange Theory is building a similar thing where there was a lot of y'all that were there when they were really going through hypergrowth, and now you guys have all kind of spun off to build and work on new cool things.
Yeah, it's a lot of people supporting a lot of locations. So there's a lot of us that cross all different business verticals, and some people from that organization from way back when doing some really, really cool stuff today in the franchising, and also like in the just multi-unit corporate owned sector too. So
Yeah.
Orange Theory helped all of us kind of grow to who we are today. I have a lot of thanks for that thanks to that organization for my
Yeah.
time there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know kind of in your past you've spent time across, corporate owned locations, franchise locations. Maybe tell me how experiencing both of those worlds has really, impacted how you operate today, how you give advice today, kind of what you do day to day with that.
Yeah. Well, when you're working with the corporate owned locations, it's a lot easier to dictate what they need to do versus the franchisees where, you lead the horse to water, but you can't force it to drink.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's definitely easier working with the corporate owned studios. But it has, by experience, it's been really great to work on the corporate owned side, because that was when I was an operator,
Mm.
and learning what it's like to be in that position has totally like shaped the way that I work with franchisees and how I worked with franchisees in the past. You have instant credibility when you can say, "Yeah, when I ran my location," and then they're like, "Oh, wait, she's done this. She knows what she's talking about. She truly has best
Yeah.
practices that she has leveraged and seen work or not work, and
Yeah.
her advice is going to be more sound because she's been in our shoes." So a lot of the learnings from the corporate side and applying them to the franchisee side to just build credibility, build trust when working with the franchisees. I mean, I if I could go back in time and do something different with how my path and
Mm.
trajectory was in my career, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent 3 years being an operator, and that has totally laid the foundation for everything else that I've done since then.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I think it resonates a lot. So I've been the corollary for my life is I've been on both sides of kind of the venture capital tech startup side. Um, it's crazy how just being able to complain about the same thing to somebody builds a bond. You know, it's just like, oh man, this really sucks, doesn't it? And they're like, yeah, it does. And all of a sudden, it's just like immediate camaraderie to be able to be more impactful. So I mean, I think it makes a ton of sense because the Z's are feeling a very different thing in that seat, right? It's their retirement money on the line, it's their family's well being on the line. So there's a lot of weight that comes with it.
Yes, there is for sure.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I think would love to kind of talk into, you know, you talk about building those support systems, right? And I think it's it's one of those things that what we see is you've got to start from the beginning, and if you don't, it's really hard as you start scaling to dozens or hundreds of locations to kind of bring back that, you know, sensibility or that practice. You know, when you're working with early stage brands, what's your advice? How do I get off the ground knowing I'm building a Leigh Welch approved support system for my franchises?
Invest now.
Yeah.
Invest in the support now. It's, you know, you're putting money behind a lot of people in seats, and that's expensive, and I
Hmm.
understand that, but you need people to be there to support your franchisees every step of the way. Um, when you have people in place who can host, you know, pre-opening trainings and then support the ramping period and then do continuous coaching with them, you're
Yeah.
going to see your franchisees hit profitability so much quicker. And what I commonly see with franchises and systems that are young and emerging, it's they're so lean. They're trying
Mm.
to operate really, really lean. And they have this mentality of like, okay, well, when we're at 25 locations, we'll do this. When we then reach 50 locations,
Yeah.
we'll do this. It's like, why wait?
Right.
I know money is always an issue, but if you can get the investment to put the money into the field operations
Yeah.
team and building out the team structure so that you have people to create the resources, maintain the resources, do the coaching,
Yeah.
go out to locations, be on site, you know, assess brand compliance in person, do all of the things, you will like profitability you will hit it quicker. You will
Yeah.
get your franchisees to hit it quicker. So I'm always like, let's invest. Let's
Yeah.
invest in the resources. Let's invest in the people to do the coaching. I think that's really, really important. I'm seeing a lot of that missed because people want to stay lean, and it's totally understandable
Yeah.
again. But you know, you have to take a risk. You took a risk with creating a franchise. You got to keep the risk taking going.
Yeah, the risk is
Pay
already
off.
the risk is already behind you once you've made that first decision is kind of how I think about it, right? Like if you've
Yes.
started a business, you've already invested your social capital, your actual capital, your time, like it's behind you already. Now you just have to optimize. I think, you know, do you see paths where, hey, maybe it's not putting a whole person in, but it's outlining a guide or putting in together resources, like in my mind there's always that like first step you can take that at least sets the tone and kind of builds to, you know, that bigger team. Is that a best practice that you've seen implemented?
Definitely a best practice,
Mm.
but you know, when you build your operations manual and some of the supporting resources, or when you build out your pre-opening training for
Hmm.
franchisees, I feel like those are all involuntary. Those should be involuntary acts of your, you know, franchisor ship, right? So
Yeah.
like that is like I don't even consider that step 1. That's like step 0.
It
You have
exists upon the time you exist.
Yes, like, it's those are so basic and so standard that it's like breathing
Yeah.
at this point. You need to take a step above that to really lay out the best support possible
Yeah.
as quickly as possible. So, yeah, have your manual, but, you know, create the content library that will then
Hmm.
exist and be franchisee facing and flush it out and, you know, schedule when it gets maintained so that it's continuously updated. And you're not having franchisees looking at something that was created 3 years ago and no one has touched it and it's just
Yeah.
living. Like,
Yeah.
so, you know, the guides, yes, helpful, but that's step 0. Like,
Yeah.
we need to be doing more and giving them more.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think bridging off of this, you know, I think support is easy when everything is going right, right? Like if everybody's making money, business support's really easy to do. Building out the systems is really easy. what are your strategies for when, maybe a Z is struggling, right? And it's not going to plan, like, but hey, we still need to implement, we still need to act according to what the system we're building. How do you kind of handle those differences in situation?
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with how you're coaching the
Hmm.
franchisees. When you have the ones that are struggling, you have to double click into it. What is the data telling us about this location? What are the sales stats for them? Where are we seeing gaps so that we can pinpoint, okay, we need to coach them on how to make calls just to get people to come into the
Yeah.
location for the first time.
Cold calling is awkward. People don't like cold calling.
It is awkward, definitely awkward,
Just do it
and
1,000 times. It stops being awkward, is what I've found.
totally, totally
Yeah.
right. I mean, I'm doing cold messaging and calling myself to franchisors, and it's definitely awkward. But
Yeah.
once you get one to bite for you, it feels
Feels
good. And
good.
yeah, like, I can do this. I can keep going.
Makes up for the next 300. It's
Yes. I feel like you have to look at the data, you have to double click, and then you have to coach on it.
Hmm.
And your top performers don't always need a whole lot of coaching, so you
Yeah.
can put the resources and the time that you have that the top performers free up for you, and you put it into your struggling franchisees and those that are hanging out in the middle that you want to take up to the top.
Yeah.
But for me, it's all about coaching, and that's how you have to flex your support
Yeah,
there.
it makes a ton of sense, and I think one of the things you talk about frequently, across your content and other places, is kind of accountability in business, and I think you really touch on it here. But there is, like, both sides are accountable to building that business. How do you typically try to enforce that, right? Because I think from one perspective, especially as an early brand, you don't want to be like authoritarian. You don't, it's happy go lucky times. We're all in this together. But there does come a time when, hey, we both have to be accountable to what we agreed to do here. How do you go about that?
I mean, I think it's all about performance data
Mm,
and making sure that at the franchisor level, you are determining, what are the franchisees' KPIs that we need to hold them accountable to?
hmm.
How do we train them to know what the KPIs are, to understand how to action off of them when they see them that they're not performing at the benchmarks? And creating tools around that as well. And then serving it to them
Mm,
and holding them accountable through the coaching and making sure that it's regular. And you hope that you can get them to like geek out over their performance data,
yeah,
and once you know how you're performing and you have that visualization of how you're performing, it's a lot easier to know where to improve your business, or
yeah,
where you need to put resources. And as the franchisor, helping the franchisee understand that and learn to use that tool, it really just it enforces accountability. You don't always win with it,
right,
but
right.
that's always the
You're
goal.
creating the good conditions for a win, right?
Yes, yes. Like, let me help you understand the health of your business so that
Yeah,
you can do it on your own and that we can do it together.
yeah. When you're working with folks across those things, I think one of the things I've noticed is people lean into their strengths, right? Like, if they were an accountant before they acquired their franchise, like, you bet their books are going to be great, right? Or like if they were in ops, they're going to make sure they're following every guide. But like if they didn't do sales, they feel awkward, so they kind of stray away from it. If they've never done marketing, they feel awkward about putting content together. I feel that in myself in our business, right? Like, I'm an engineer by trade. I would love to just be in a room, build my things, never talk to people. But obviously, that's not how you build a business, right? Like, and you've got to lean into the weaknesses. How do you help coach franchisees on that stuff, right? Because it is an emotional thing, right? You're getting over barriers of fear and fear of failure and things of that nature. How do you kind of combine that more emotional aspect into the coaching to go with the numbers?
Right, right. I mean, as field operations, like,
Mm,
you have to very quickly understand where the franchisees have their strengths and their weaknesses.
yeah.
And so oftentimes it's like, okay, yes, you're not great at marketing. Well, let's just focus an action plan just
Hmm.
around marketing to help you get comfortable? Is there anybody else on your team that is comfortable with marketing that we can also pull in so that
Yeah.
you can, pull some levers on the strengths of the individuals that are on your team?
Hmm.
And just trying to get them to think in that way. And I think a lot of it too goes back to how you coach them to build out their teams.
Yeah.
It's great to look for people who can fill your personal like gaps,
Absolutely.
right? So, if you're not good at content creation, next time you go to hire your next team member, make that a talking point during the interview to
Right.
see if they have interest in it, if they're good at it, fill your opportunity area with the strengths from somebody else.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part to get the franchisees to know that they can build their team so that there's expertise or interest and strengths across different parts of their business so that they can have a really comprehensive approach to running their business.
And you would have a better look at this than I do because I'm typically, only talking to marketing, and you're obviously working a lot more on the ops side. Do brands run skills assessments up front on franchisees, like during the acquisition process, to basically say, like, hey, we've identified that you probably need more help here, and like, here's the special resources we're going to put in place to do that.
There are a lot of organizations that during the franchise development process, during the franchise sales process, they do ask prospective
Mm.
franchisees to fill out like personality
Yeah.
tests, all of that, so they can get a bigger picture of, where their opportunities lie, where they're going to excel. Um, Definitely doing that. I think technology can get better in that area to
Yeah.
support franchising with
Yeah.
that. I can't even remember what organization it was, but I was talking with somebody and they send out a personality test to all of their customers and like
That
or
seems
yeah,
wild.
yeah, and are like yeah, it's just like wild. But data is a good thing.
Yeah.
Having some data
It's
points
a lot
on
of data.
personality typing is also a good thing. It helps.
I would
But
imagine the psychographics of their customer profiles are spot on if they're getting full on personality tests off of them.
well, I'm like, what are you actioning off of when you see these? How are you
Right.
using this data? Tell me more. I want to know.
That's intriguing, absolutely, right? Like, it's wild to think about. I would guess, I mean, somebody's got to fill it out just out of interest, and then it is valuable to the marketing team in theory to know what types of personality types that are
Yes.
shopping.
And their sales efforts too. Is this
Yeah,
someone who doesn't want you to cold call them or only wants in-person communications? You
yeah,
can gather a lot of how they're going to react to your sales process so you can flex your style with
yeah.
sales based on their personality type.
I don't know if it's around still. There was a tool I used to use back in my VC days called Crystal Knows, and it was like a browser add-on. And you would
Okay.
go to somebody's LinkedIn profile. I don't know how the heck they were figuring this out, but they would pull their personality and give you like advice on how to cold outreach this person. It
Interesting.
was weird, but it kind of works sometimes, I guess.
I might need this for my business development.
Yeah, I was gonna say, check it out. I don't know if again, shout out if they still exist. I don't know if they do or don't, but yeah, that was interesting because yeah, for me, like cold outreach was a thing I had to overcome. It's like a hard thing to do, um, but you just kind of got to do that stuff sometimes.
You do. Yep.
Um, I love that, and so I'm curious, as you've kind of grown through your career, how maybe has your paradigm shifted, within franchising from when you were wide-eyed just getting started into it versus maybe where you are today, and this could also be positive or negative, I suppose, based on your experiences.
I mean, I don't think much has changed. I think I've always been on the soapbox of franchisees need more support. Um,
Maybe that's because you've ran a franchise before, there's something to learn there to everybody.
so I think that has been the same. I mean, even when I was an operator, it was always like, give me more tools. Give
Yeah.
me more tools to successfully run my business. Like, have more meetings with me. I don't know who wants to have more meetings, but I did. I
Yeah.
wanted more meetings. Like, let's talk more about like what we're seeing in the numbers and what are the other franchisees doing who are killing it in these metrics. Like, I want to know
Yeah.
because I want to implement it and try
Yeah.
it myself. So I mean, I think my paradigm has truly stayed the same. Support, support, support.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you feel like franchise brands are often lacking in the support that they are giving to their Z's?
For emerging brands, it's really the coaching piece.
Yeah.
It's really, carving out the time after the pre-opening phase. Usually the pre-opening phase when you're an emerging brand is like it's everything. It's like
Hot
your
and
main
heavy. Yeah,
focus.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you want to get them open, because you need to get more franchises open so that you can start making money. And
Yep.
it's the hyper focus, and that means that the ramping period like doesn't get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And, that is the make or break for your franchise. How quickly can you get your franchisees to profitability?
Yeah.
And to get them there, you have to handhold them through that ramping period. Whether, that ramp is 6 months, a year, 18 months, however long it takes,
Yeah.
that's when they need your attention more than any other time.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like there's a drop off with the support and the coaching that's given during that ramping period. But if you can get people to ramp quickly and hit profitability quickly, you're going to have more franchisees that are going to validate, which is going to help your franchise development efforts and help
Yeah.
you grow your footprint.
Yeah.
So you need to help them then, please.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's like with any investment, like in technology, it's like this J curve of like you invest, so you're losing money, you're losing money, you're losing money, and then you make the turn, and you start making money, and it's like that pit of despair sucks, though.
Yes. Yes.
It's
And
like,
it's
hey, I thought we are supposed to make money off of this. I'm only spending more money.
Yes, and I mean, you don't want your franchisees to feel that pain
Yeah,
for at least not for a very long time. Everybody has to ramp, but it's sad when someone's like, "Well, now I don't know why I invested." And
right.
so yeah, we need to do a better job of supporting them to profitability.
Yeah. Do you Do you see brands like building their team around the specific phases of like their Z's like lifehood? Like, is there there's the onboarding, there's the kickoff, there's the ramp person. It feels like it's probably important enough to kind of guide people through each, almost like 6 months of their growth, right?
Yes, definitely there's a strategy that can be leveraged where you have a team that's your, new location
Hmm.
opening team, and they're taking you from your franchise agreement signing through maybe they are also responsible for that like start of the ramping period, or maybe
Hmm.
it gets handed off. But there's definitely something to be said for teams that kind of segment their operations folks into pre-opening, ramping, mature,
Hmm.
because you do systems hit that plateau
Yeah.
also. And then it's like,
Yeah.
all right, we need to shake things up. We need a team that knows how to go from the plateau and like elevate.
Yeah.
So it's all about the phases of the franchise system too. In for an emerging franchise, you're not going to see dedicated people to different phases of the franchisee journey
Yeah.
because you can't afford it at that
Right.
point. And then as they get a little bit more sophisticated, they're at the 75 mark. Then you start to see them crafting their team to give
Yeah.
people areas of expertise to help the franchisees. And then once that plateau hits, usually it's like, got to
Yeah.
change the whole thing. How
Yeah.
are we
The
gonna
whole
have
different strategy.
yeah, a transfers team because people are coming up for renewal and we need to transfer ownership. It all changes. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of ebbs and flows with the strategy of the structure of the operations team and the types of support that they're providing based on, where the franchise system is in its journey and existence.
Yeah, it makes sense. And building off of that, like reaching the plateau, some brands reach that sooner than others, and it's because they probably shouldn't have been franchising in the first place. And I know you've talked about that on your LinkedIn a little bit of just like, hey, helping a franchisor decide not to franchise is also a valuable thing to do.
Yes.
Um, Talk through that. Like, what do you think makes a brand either not ready for it now, or maybe just not ever ready to kind of go down that path of franchising? Because I feel like especially from your angle and your background, you've probably seen a lot of situations where it's like, hey, we need more support, but it's like the support is trying to make up for fundamental flaws that we're already missing,
Right.
right?
Right. I would say if you're looking for a quick way
Hmm.
to expand and make more money with less risk, franchising is not the answer.
Yeah.
We're not ready.
Yeah.
Also, if you think that franchising is going to be the side hustle in tandem with like just operating corporate owned locations,
Yeah.
you are not ready for franchise.
Turns out when you bring more people into the mix, everything gets more complicated.
Yeah, franchising, if you're going to do it and do it right, it is full time for everybody that is on your corporate team.
Yeah.
You know, you can't split with continuing to be an operator unless you have a dedicated sub
Dedicated
team
operating
to
team.
run the corporate
Yeah.
owned location. So, you know, I come across a handful of organizations that are looking to franchise, and
Mhm.
I'm having conversations with them, and I'm literally being like, please don't franchise. Like,
Yeah.
you're not like, don't do it. There's
Right.
so much, there's more risk. There's legal regulations, and
Yeah.
there's so much more packed into it, and there's so much work you have to do from a structure perspective, and how much time and effort it requires. It's not a side hustle.
Yeah.
It's not. It's its
Yeah.
own thing, its own very big thing.
Yeah. No, I mean that makes a ton of sense. I would say. Um, maybe flipping the script a little bit. Kind of talking about the past and what you've seen. What are you excited about in franchising? Like, what trends are you seeing happening? Kind of across anything. Within tech stack, marketing, ops, just the types of brands that are starting to franchise. What's getting you excited about the industry?
I'm excited about how technology is really becoming bigger for franchisors,
Mm,
and how they're leveraging different technologies and different softwares to make things easier to not only run the franchise, but also like provide resources to their
mm.
franchisees. I mean, not to blow smoke, but AI is like everything right
Yep.
now in all different
Maybe.
um even field support.
Yeah.
It's getting easier to create resources for your franchisees leveraging AI, and to create ticketing systems for support to support the franchisees with like via email. And
Yeah.
technology is really advancing, and franchises need to stay on top of that as much as possible, because if you are trying to stay lean, there might be a software that can help support that
Yeah.
today, because AI is so powerful. So I think it's really interesting to like just keep a pulse on that,
Yeah.
um, and keep like growing your knowledge of what is out there, what could help you, what are the gaps, can you find people to help from a technology perspective fill gaps. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
No, I've met the guys building a company called Easy Assist at a couple of the conferences within the industry, and it's a really cool one. It's basically exactly what you're talking about, where they'll take all the documentation, all the support guides you have, and then they train basically an AI support assistant against all of it.
love
And
it.
so your Z's, instead of asking you, can go ask this. It'll pull actual information down, and then the really cool thing in my mind they've done is if they don't have an answer from your documentation, they create a support ticket for you and say, hey, we're lacking information on this type of a question. Like, we should build that for the franchisees. So, yeah,
I
to your point, obviously biased, but I do think AI getting into the space is really interesting because franchising is like behind, in terms of the technology adoption. There is like digital adoption is still happening in some franchises, let alone AI. Um, but it does lead to Chris Stewart at Bloom and Blinds is making this point. He's like, for smaller brands that are using AI, it's an opportunity to leapfrog your bigger competitors because you can move faster, get
guess.
more done with less people and less spend. So it's a cool opportunity, I would say, in technology in general, but specifically in the space. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. You have to. We saw your dog. What's your dog's name? You've
My
got to
dog
tell
is
us.
Bago. He's a golden retriever.
Okay. Hey,
We
Becco.
we
Welcome to the
have
show.
my office, my keyboard over here, who usually snores very loudly throughout all of my meetings during
If
the
he's not snoring, it's because the episode is so good. We've captured his attention, and he's enthralled by it. So shout out, Becco. I had to. I see a dog. I've got to ask about the dog.
day.
Jumping into a section we always like to do, just quick hitting questions. The idea being, hey, 10, 15-second responses
Okay.
coming off of it. How does that sound?
Okay, a little nervous, but
A little,
okay. Go
okay. They're extremely hard hitting. Okay, they are. You're gonna get grilled here. Um, what is something you're passionately learning about right now?
Taylor Swift.
Okay, I love this. We're gonna have to talk about that later. um, what franchise brand are you most excited about right now? Non-biases towards those you may be working with.
Oh, non-biased. Um, I don't have one in particular, but I am keeping my eye on the med spa space.
Yeah.
There is a lot of movement, emerging franchises in that space.
Hmm.
And I mean, I just like travel around where I live and I'm like, oh my God, there's another one. Like
Yeah.
they keep popping up everywhere
Yeah.
and they're super complex because
Hmm.
you have like the medical aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued. So I'm closely watching.
Yeah. I love that. What is the best piece of career advice you've been given, and who gave it to you?
If you have thoughts, thoughtfully share them.
Interesting. I like the nuance
And
there.
yes, and I'm an introvert, so I keep a lot of the thoughts inside
Hmm.
and don't always like bring them out. And the person that said this to me was a judge that I was a law clerk for many, many
I was gonna
moons
say,
ago.
whole aspect of your career we didn't touch on. Lee used to be in law, guys.
Um, but I clerked for a judge and he had very high emotional like EQ. Like
Mm.
so I'm shy and I have thoughts and he was trying to like help me build my confidence and sharing my opinions and thoughts with him. And he gave a ruling out. We had a trial and he gave a ruling while he was still on the bench and we came back inside and he said, "Did I do the right thing?" And I said, "No, you didn't."
So maybe we had to work on the thoughtfully portion there.
I was like, "Okay, tell me more. Like, give me your thoughts." And I listed all of the reasons that I thought he should have sided the other way.
Yeah.
And, long and behold, he was like, "Let's get back out there." And like he had the bailiffs go and grab counsel and brought them back in and he reversed his ruling.
I
And
didn't even know that was possible.
yeah, it's possible. So, and like afterwards, he was like, "Leigh, if you have thoughts,
Yeah, your voice matters.
share them." I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. And it built my confidence. Like that was one of the pivotal moments of
Yeah.
my career. I was like, oh my gosh, like I actually have good thoughts. So
Yeah.
I need to share them more often.
That
Um,
is
so
that's one of my best pieces of hiring advice I was ever given. If you're going through a hiring process with somebody and they give you advice on how to fix something, go fix it and do the thing they said before the next meeting you have with them and be like, "Hey, we did that. It worked great." It's like, to your point, it's instant validation, it's
yes,
instant buy-in, and it just works.
yes.
Um, awesome. And then last one, what's something people might not know about you other than that you were a lawyer
Yeah,
or an attorney, I guess?
yeah. I don't know. The fun fact I always like to lead with when someone's like, "Give me a fun fact."
Mm,
I have had lunch with Beyonce.
okay, well, I mean, I'm not even going to ask for context. We're going to leave it at that. Lee's famous, and she frequently dines with pop stars. Um, awesome. This was great, Lee. Thank you so much. I always like to, before we close out, give you the soapbox. Feel free to push whatever you want to push, sell whatever you want to sell. The stage is yours.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, franchises, if you're looking to help your franchisees reach profitability quicker and you want some help laying your foundation and structure for how to do that, hit me up. You can find me on LinkedIn or you can email me at lee@leigwelchconsulting.com.
And then, assuming your website's also leewelchconsulting.com.
Sure is.
Perfect. You guys heard it here. That's where you can find her. Lee, thank you so much for joining us
Totally.
today. Great conversation, great
Yes.
advice. I feel like everybody now can support their franchisees better. All they have to do is listen to this episode.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And everybody else, thank you for listening to this episode of Behind the Franchise. We appreciate your time and hope you have a wonderful day. And we'll see you on the next one.